So, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today we are going to talk to our good friend Stefan Verstappen again. So, Stefan, welcome.
Thanks for having me back on, Judith. It's only been a couple of weeks since I was on your show.
Yeah, but this time around things are changing so quickly, and of course, when we talk about things, that's always like a screenshot of the current events.
Yeah.
And but now, everything can change in a heartbeat. So, yeah, be prepared to come to the show more often.
Well, I love you, and it's my pleasure to be on your show anytime you want.
Okay. So before we into our subject, I have to address this. Um, I read an article today, and the inventor of Oculus, you know what that is? Oculus is a VR
Yeah.
headset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he says he has invented a VR headset that if you get killed in the game, you will die in real life as well because you will be killed by microwaves, interestingly enough. Yeah. So, and I thought that's a weird business model. Yeah. Um, and but then again, I thought, yeah, well, and okay, I have to say, no, you cannot order it online and you cannot get it in a shop. It's not in production right now, in case you have a certain person that you're really mad about. And, but, it fits into the overall anti-life agenda, or or does it?
No, it does, of course. It's
Yeah. Mm,
anti-life and anti-liveliness, which
mm,
is the psychopathic mentality. Psychopaths hate life. They hate
mm.
liveliness. They hate humanity. They hate nature. They hate the world. They hate animals. They hate everything. Their whole life is based around hate. So, listen, everything we see that's happening now is meant to destroy people, dis- destroy nature. I mean, look what they're doing, even with the chemtrails and poisoning the water. Jesus, Murphy, it's that's all they do. It's just destroy life and liveliness. By liveliness, I mean happiness, innocence, creativity, people working together, music, art, architecture, and we've seen all that's been destroyed. you know. So that's just one more tool.
The article, the headline is "If you die in the game, you die in real life." And yeah, okay. As I said, weird business model. So now, China, did you expect that? The uprising against the COVID measures. Did you expect that the Chinese would do that?
No, I didn't expect that. That's quite a surprise, but it's going to lead to nothing and nowhere.
Hmm.
The
Why?
Well, because the Chinese are going to kill them all. The communists will murder them en masse. I was in Taiwan in 1986. I think
Hmm.
that's the year when they had the Tiananmen Square massacre, and that was, we were shocked. They built a statue of liberty, and they wanted freedom, and hundreds of thousands of students gathered at Tiananmen Square, and the communists just rolled out the tanks, machine gunned them en masse, rolled over them with the tanks. The more people got killed by being run over by tanks than got shot. I was in Tiananmen Square 15 years later, and I was talking to some of the people that were there because they owned businesses on the outskirts of Tiananmen Square, restaurants and things like that. And I asked them about Tiananmen Square, and they said that They had to afterwards. They had to bring in bulldozers to scrape the coagulated blood off the pavement stones, which had accumulated to a depth of 2 feet.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
So that's the Communist Party, but the Communist Party is the Archonic Party, and that's
mm,
what they do. They kill people. They don't care. They don't care. Look what Mao Zedong, 60, 80 million people starved to death, and then Tiananmen Square, they just murdered them by the tens of thousands without a qualm. You think they've gotten a lot nicer since then? They've grown a conscience since then. So all these
no, no,
people, yeah,
that's not what I think. But uh, you know, this time it is a little bit different because it's in multiple cities. And
yes,
last time it was more or less concentrated and focused on Peking,
yep,
Beijing,
yep.
and yeah. So, and I would say let's wait and see if they. I just read a headline that the protests are escalating as of now, and we will see how that goes. Because I think China is a huge country, and if they can manage to pop up all over the country, then it will be a little bit different and difficult to clobber it down.
Well, I certainly hope so. I really hope that the Chinese people can rid themselves from this artificial dictatorship that was imposed on China by the same banking families that have imposed their will on every other country in the world. The Chinese never invented communism. That was all orchestrated. It was all paid for by the central banks and the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds. So none of this was the invention of the Chinese. It's a completely alien ideology imposed on them. And so I sincerely hope they can throw this off. But my prediction is all these people will end up dead.
Hmm.
All the people that protested, listen, remember, they got the facial recognition software. They got the whole snitch network already long set up, which they're setting up here in the rest of the world. Oh, is your neighbor planning a terrorist attack? Do you see him buying fertilizer and diesel fuel? Well, then phone the police. You know, no, the Chinese have a very extensive system of surveillance, and they have lots of, you know, soldiers and policemen that are idiots, that are machines, that are robots, that are perfectly willing to kill their fellow countrymen. And
But
so
that is true for any country.
but that's
The
true for
cult
every
of
country.
border
That's right.
followers, they will always rise up against their own people.
Always. Yeah.
Mm.
A lot of people say, well, we'll all get together and we'll march by the hundreds of thousands and we'll demand our freedom, and then the military and police will join us. No, they won't.
No, they won't.
No, they won't. They'll shoot you in the head. They don't care. Again, it's the way society and the world works. I mean, I know I come across as being very negative, but I've read a lot of history. I've never
Mm.
seen it go the other way. I've never seen that the soldiers drop their guns and join in with the protesters. Never, ever, ever, ever happened. The only time that something like that came close to happening was in World War One on Christmas Eve, when the German and British soldiers stopped shooting each other and got together and had like Christmas, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it only lasted for one day, and then they went back to shooting each other. Um, no, but
That-
it's tragic because listen, these are what we call brother wars. Okay,
mm.
um, for example, World War One. So all these Americans go over there to kill Germans, but 40-50% of America were German immigrants.
Yeah.
So they're going over there to kill their cousins. And that's what, really started me on the path to figuring out psychopaths, and that was World War One. I was researching it for my first book, The 36 Strategies of Ancient China, and I was looking for, war strategies. And so I examined, well, Chinese history, Japanese history, Roman history, and Western history. I was going to try and take stories from all those areas, but I ended up focusing only on Chinese and Japanese history because they're already ruthless enough. I don't need to add any more ruthless stories to that. But it was while researching World War One, looking for battlefield strategies and tactics, and I read All Quiet on the Western Front, and I cried like a baby. Especially the scene, I'm misquoting it, but they're there in the burned out crater, and he says, Heinz, the son of a farmer, just killed Pierre, the son of a baker. This is the tragedy. These are brother wars. None of it was necessary. It was all contrived. It was all orchestrated on purpose by people that have no relationship to humanity. And but they just all went along with it. Anyways, I got off track.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I would say, for instance, the French Revolution, that got hijacked right away. Yeah, and then, my goodness, then we had the terror reign of Robespierre, and yeah,
Yeah,
that is really, really hard to make. I'm not saying there were no grievances. Of course, people had a reason to rise up, yeah,
yeah,
during that time as well. But it's really hard to make sure that you do not get hijacked, even if you are a grassroots movement.
yeah. No, but it always gets hijacked. Always. French Revolution is a classic example. I
Mm.
believe before the French Revolution was the English Civil War, which was another key example. Look, I'm going to do a metaphysic take on all of this. Metaphysics means you go back to, the basics. What is what? What is black? What is white? How do things operate? And how things operate is this. There was a man named Abraham who made a covenant with a god. Now, it's not the god that people think. It's
Mm.
actually Satan, or whatever, the demiurge. Now,
Mhm.
there are a lot of people that have written about this. John Lamb Lash is a good example. I
Mhm.
firmly agree with him that Abraham made a covenant with the demiurge. Now, the demiurge are, or is, the leader of the Archons. Now, for people who don't understand the term Archons, this comes out of Gnosticism, and the Archons are an interdimensional race or species of pure evil. It
Mhm.
And it's not just John Lamb Lash. Another person that writes about it is one of my favorite writers is Colin Wilson, and he wrote a book called The Mind Parasites. And a parasite is another good term for these archons. They're parasites. They feed off of negative emotions. And so what happened is Abraham made this covenant with this archonic demon god, and a demon god says, I will give you the world so long as you follow me. And so that was the deal that was struck. Now, the descendants of Abraham, almost all, and we're not allowed to say all, and it's not all, but it's most of them, they are infected with the same mind parasite.
Mhm.
So they become archons. In effect, they are possessed from birth through their DNA. And I could go on for hours about how that all works, but they are possessed through DNA by these demonic entities. And so now they control everything, the entire world. And
Mhm.
what we see now, everything that you see, is a manifestation of demonic influences. That's why our world is demonic. Good is bad, bad is good. Everything is topsy turvy. Raping children is good. Planting gardens is evil. uh, so this is the world that we live in. And so to speak about what's going on, you have to understand what's going on is a bunch of demonic people control everything, and they are trying, everything they do is to kill life and liveliness. So that's my basic metaphysic background on this. So we can
Mhm.
go on and we can talk about politics, we can talk about culture, we can talk about philosophy. None of that means anything. It's like Gurdjieff said, pouring from the empty into the void. And I've pulled back now, Judith, from a lot of this stuff. I don't follow it anymore. I don't do the deep dives. What's the what's the details about this scandal? What are the details about that scandal? I already know what the details are. The details are a bunch of psychopathic parasites are doing everything they can to destroy the world. That's all you
Mhm.
need to know. And we get lost in this labyrinth of conspiracy theories. And well, listen, conspiracy theories tend to be true. Of course it's a conspiracy. It's always been a conspiracy. But
Yeah.
we debate it, we think about it, we research it, and then who's behind that? Well, it's that family. Oh goodness! And then who funds them? Well, it's that guy that fund. Okay, look, I can tell you already who funds it all. It's the Archons, and that's the name I'm
Mhm.
going to use for this group of people, whose name you are
Mhm.
not allowed to mention.
Yeah, but I would say at the end of the day, they are working with other groups here hand in hand.
Well, of course, they're
Like
working with other groups.
like the Vatican, like the Freemasons, like it's not such a shocker that it's not only one group, and yeah,
No, but it's
at
one
the end
group
of
that,
the day, they work all hand in hand.
of course, they do. Sure,
Mm. Yeah.
that's how they gain power. It's very simple. Um, let's go back to medieval times. An archon comes into a European country. Who's the king here? Oh, that guy. Goes to the king and says, now remember that psychopaths tend to rise to the top. So
Mm.
the leader of every government, or the leaders of every government, will be psychopaths. And this archonic tribe, they're psychopaths too, and they understand psychopaths. I understand them too. I know what they like. They like pedophilia. They like torture. They like money. They like drugs. They like homosexuality. They like perversion. They like dirt and rolling in the gutter, and that's what they like. Again,
Mm.
anti-life, anti-liveliness. So you get one of these archon ambassadors who goes to the king. Oh, your highness, what is it that pleases you? 8-year-old girls? Well, I can get you some. What is it that pleases you? More money? Well, my friends can offer you a loan. And so on and so on. And of course, so they make a relationship with the psychopaths that belong to other races. And so it's not, yes, not just the Archon. So they pair up with the other things. First of all, talking about the Vatican Church and Christianity, yeah, look, Christianity is a psyop, okay?
Mm.
It is,
Mm.
people ask me, well, how come you're not a Christian? Well, because I don't want to worship a Jew. And I don't want to worship in a religion that was founded by Jews, because I don't trust those people. I know what liars they are. And so if they tell me this guy walked on water and now he's here to rid me of my sins and all, do you think I believe that for a moment? Of course I don't.
Mm.
So, yeah, the Vatican is in on it. Well, of course they've been in on it from the very beginning. It's not that they got subverted. They were a psyops from the very beginning.
Yeah, especially the Catholic Church
Oh,
reminds
especially the
me,
Catholic.
even in their, in their celebrations and their traditions and the way it is conducted and the costume that they are wearing. They remind me a lot of the old Babylonian priesthood.
Of course, that's what it is too.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's why I always say, what God wants you to dress up and drag all the time. I mean, look at these guys with their flowing gowns and their embroidery and the silly hats they'll have to wear. Oh, that's what God wants. You know, I mean, come on. I'm not going to listen to some guy dressed up in drag tell me what the world is all about. I know what the world is all about. I don't need some queen telling me.
Yeah.
But look, that was the point. The books were written by Jews. It was spread by Jews. That's Christianity. I find it odd that the Archons are going after Christianity because it's their own stepchild. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And what I find also interesting is that whenever men rise to power, in certain organizations, then all of a sudden they are portrayed in female clothing. You see that with the priests, you see that with judges, you see that with the Freemason apron. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I
Yeah,
forget who was
yeah.
it. Was it uh, that black comedian? Ben? No, no, not him. The one that just did the Saturday Night Live
I don't know.
episode. Black comedian, very, very. Actually find him very funny. But he said the same thing. He said, "Well, they told the story about, he's in the trailer, and then the producer comes in and says, okay, we're going to do this scene where you dress up as a woman.' And he said, why am I dressing up? I don't want to dress up as a woman. He said, well, we think it would be very funny. Here's the clothes, and we're going to dress you up as a woman. And then he goes on to explain how every black actor had to do something in drag, right?
Hmm.
Um, everybody from the Blade guy and yeah, they all had to do something in drag. That's part of their kinks. They have to dress men up as women. It's part of their kink, and
Mm.
it's part of degrading humanity.
Yeah. So now we have, yeah, the first few voices here in the EU
Dave
that
Chappelle,
accuse.
sorry.
Oh, Dave Chappelle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now it comes
okay.
back to me. You know how memory works. I'm getting old. I'm getting a little bit senile. It's also because of all the radiation, the EMFs, the Wi-Fi. I do feel that it affects me. I have slight gaps sometimes, and I'm very meticulous in remembering who I am, where I am, what I'm doing.
Okay, so we had the first voices here in the EU that accused the United States of making a hell of a profit from the war in Ukraine. And it appears that they have the feeling, and it finally dawns on them, that Europe will be the one holding the empty bag. Do you think we see, yeah, let's say the first blossoms of some remaining common sense, or is that, will it just blow over and then that's it?
Oh, for Christ's sakes! We've been through this dozens of times in my lifetime. From the
Mm.
Vietnam War to Iraq. Of course, America's making a profit, but it's not America. Let's get one thing straight: the American people have
No,
no
that I know. The average American is plagued by inflation and other nonsense as well. That
exactly,
I
and
know.
the same
It's
for all.
always certain groups. Mm.
Yes, it's always certain groups. The Archons, yeah, the Archons are making a lot of money on it. They always make up money on it. That's why they start all the wars, going all the way back to the English Civil War and That's as far back as I got. The French Revolution and the Civil War and the Boer War and oh my God, on and on and on. They all start the wars, and they all make the money on it. So yeah, what else is new? Why would this be something new?
Yeah, I mean, what is so irritating to me is that anybody with two functioning brain cells left could have seen that right from the get-go.
I seen it right from the get go. The minute it started, I went, "Oh, please, what the? Here we go again." And it's
Yeah.
another brother war too, which I really despise.
Hmm.
You because what Ukrainians and Russians, they're separate species. No, they're cousins. They're all Slavs for Christ's sakes. Why would they be killing each other over this stuff? But look, what's happening in the Ukraine is the same thing that happened in the Vietnam War. Okay, the Vietnam War went on for 10 years. They could have ended it in a month, really easily. Bomb North Korea. Sorry, bomb North Vietnam. They could have bombed Hanoi, but there was a standing order that they were not allowed to bomb Hanoi. And so that allowed this war to drag on for 10 years because the longer the war drags on, the more money the Archons make. And so the Vietnam War wouldn't have lasted a month under my guidance or my leadership. First of all, I wouldn't have gone into it anyways. The whole the whole point of that war was ridiculous. But if you really wanted to win the Vietnam War, it could have been over in a month. But I know this because the fighter pilots and the bombing pilots were given specific instructions. You cannot bomb North Vietnam. And if you did, you would take out the leadership and the war would be over in a month. But they don't want that. They want it to go on and on and on, kill lots and lots of people. And the same thing with World War One. World War One could have been over in a year.
Yeah, yeah. The same way here with the Ukraine. They already had negotiations in March this year.
Yep.
And actually, they made progress, and you could say they were at a stage to do the finishing touches. So, and then Mr. Boris Johnson came to town
Yeah,
and
Boris
said, no,
Johnson.
no,
That's
no,
right.
no, no, that is not how we are going to do it. Yeah,
Exactly.
okay, yeah.
So the same thing with the Ukraine war. I mean, the idea that the Ukraine is going to win against Russia.
Yeah,
This is
good
like
one.
Luxembourg is going to
Mhm.
rise up against the European Union.
Yeah,
They don't
exactly.
stand a chance in hell. Are you kidding me? Luxembourg against Europe, Ukraine against Russia? Of course not. But that proves to me also that Putin is in on this. Putin is nobody's hero.
Hmm.
He's run by the same archons that run every other country in the world because Putin could have ended this in 2 weeks. There's no hope in hell that the Ukraine could defeat Russia. Let's get over that. But again, based on my understanding of military strategy and tactics, and I've written on that subject for over 30 years. Yeah, I could have gone in there and taken them out. Yeah, boom, decapitate the leadership, get rid of the hydroelectric plants, and within a month, the whole country is yours. They'll surrender. But that's not what they did, and that's not what they're going to do, because what they want to do is drag this on and on, make sure they kill as many people as they can, rake in as many profits as they can, just like Vietnam, just like Afghanistan. How long did that Afghanistan war go on for? 20 years? Are you kidding me? For 20 years, the greatest superpower on the planet couldn't defeat a bunch of barbaric tribesmen living in the mountains. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
the Afghanistan war could have been over in 3 weeks if they had wanted it. If they really
Mm.
thought, oh, we have to defeat them, could have been over in 3 weeks. But it dragged on for 20 years. Why? Well, it kills more people that way, and they make more profit for the bankers, and so that's why all of this is just none of it makes any sense, and it doesn't make any sense on purpose. The only sense you got to understand is that it's done to kill people and make profit for the Archons. That's the only sense you need to understand.
Yeah. So, on the subject, Putin is in on it. We also talked about that last time. But I want to point out a different aspect this time. There is a lot of talk about the new multipolar world. And yeah, who else is talking about that? Not only Putin and Xi. If you type it in, WEF, and multipolar world, then you will see that already in 2015 it was a big subject and it was favored by the WEF to have a so-called multipolar world. And because, as we said, a lot of goals that the WEF has, that's also going on in Russia. And do you think that at the end of the day, um, it has already been decided that the United States will come to an end as a superpower, even by the WEF and what have you?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah, no, the United States is a weird country. Now the people are great for the most part, and they've been raised on a not so much lately, but they used to be raised on the concepts of freedom and independence, self-reliance. Um, those are all qualities that the Archons hate. They hate that. So they've always wanted to destroy the United States. And we talked about it last time. Probably they'll be balkanized into multiple warring states, just like you've seen in China throughout its history. When the dynasty collapses, it always devolves into warring states where everybody's killing each other. And again, brother wars. I, I can't understand why people are okay with brother wars, killing your fellow Western Europeans or your fellow Europeans. But they're okay with that. But then again, the problem is that 80% of humanity are vacuous, empty, soulless shells.
Mm.
They are. That's that, this was hard for me to come to the realization because I'm a people person. I like people for the most part. I'm
Mm.
sociable. I'm charming at a party. But the ugly, sad truth is that the vast majority of people are they're not there. There's no soul. There's no intellect. There's no ability to reason. So that's what we're dealing with. And
Mhm. Do you think it's really not there, the ability to reason, or is it a result of the fact that via media and social media and what have you, everybody has been instructed? They all know what they have to think and believe, but nobody knows how to think. Or do you think it's a result of that, or a mixture?
well, sure, social media and the indoctrination and the education system has promoted psychopathy, narcissism, idiocy, and we see now that we're- no, just it's beyond comprehension. People like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and that other character that couldn't even speak a sentence, the one with brain damage, that was elected to the Senate. Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, right, okay. Um, that's part of it, but you know what? Humanity has always been like that. When you go back
Mhm.
through history, oh, the witch burnings and the religious war and the 100 Years' War and the 80 Years' War and the 30 Years' War and on and on and on. It goes back all the way. But, I could never understand. You would read, Shakespeare, Henry V, and his great speech. On this St. Crispin's Day, we will have victory over the French. And I'm thinking, yeah, but, all those guys that are out there and medieval warfare, my God, it was brutal. They butchered each other. They hacked. Anyways, and why were these guys doing that? For the king? Because after this is over, if they lived, they go back to the pig farm. They get to go live in the mud hut, while the king gets to live in his castle. Why would you fight for this guy? Why would you sacrifice your life and everything to fight for these kings and these emperors and all that, when your life is like a slave? You live in the dirt floor in a hut, barely surviving your entire existence. But when the king says we're going to fight this St. Crispin's Day, and then so look, already way back then you can see that the vast majority of people cannot think. Why would you go and fight for Henry V so he can get his castle in France? What? How is that going to benefit you at all? Of course it doesn't. And the same thing now. People sign up for the army. Oh boy, you get paid what? $2,000 a month, maybe. You can't live on that, and you're going to sacrifice your life and go and kill Afghanis and go and kill Ukrainians and go and kill Russians, and what do you get out of it? You get nothing out of it. Ask any veteran that's sleeping on the streets in freezing weather under a bridge in a cardboard box. Ask them how much they benefited by sacrificing their life for the government. But you can't tell them that. Why would you do that to begin with? I never understood that. And so, yeah, it's worse now, I think, than it's ever been. But this is the state of humanity. I don't know. Judith, I've broken my mind trying to figure out what goes on, what happens, how does this happen, how can we fix it? And I have not been able to come up with a solution. And I'm a smart guy, and I've spent 40 years researching the subject. Why are human beings that stupid? That no, why are they? How is it possible? Yeah, now we can blame media and education, sure. But they've always been that stupid. Always been that stupid. That they would murder and kill and burn and rape and destroy for no benefit for themselves, but because they follow a leader. I know it has something to do with the tribal instinct, with the herd instinct, with the pack instinct, but even still, there's something seriously wrong with humanity. There has always been, as far back as history. We go back to the earliest times of human development, and what do you see? The development of defensive walls, the development of weaponry. I mean, going all the way back to caveman days. They found that preserved body of a man that dates back, I think, 20,000 BC, there in the Swiss Alps, when the glaciers melted and they found him. What did they call him? Yeti or something like that. Perfectly preserved for 20,000 years. And caveman.
Ötzi.
What?
The name of that corpse was Ötzi.
Ötzi, yeah, okay. So, but look at the story there. Right? So they found out he had an arrowhead embedded in his hip. And he had been bashed in the head. That's what killed him, wasn't the arrow. He had his skull caved in, and they didn't take his copper axe, which was really unusual because copper was such a precious item in those days, and a copper axe would be a marvelous treasure. So that suggests that whoever killed him came from his own tribe and didn't dare take the copper axe back because everybody'd say, "Hey, where'd you get that copper axe? That looks just like Yeti's." So
yeah.
you can see murder and thievery dating back 20,000 years. So what is it? It's the human race. There's something wrong with us. Well, the vast majority of us. And again, if you study Gnosticism, they posit that the reason for that is these archonic, demonic entities have basically possessed most people on the planet and turned them into evil sons of bitches. But so is this a new thing? No, go back 30,000 years. Obviously what they did is they hunted him down, they shot him with an arrow, and while he lay there bleeding, they bashed his head in. And why? We don't know. It wasn't for his copper axe.
Yeah. So there are thoughts out there now that say ultimately the Ukraine will go the way that Afghanistan did, and there will come a point when the United States will simply turn their back on them. Do you think that's possible?
Absolutely. The United States has turned their back on everybody. You know,
Okay.
well, look, they turned their back on the Vietnamese, right? All the ones that were supporting them, they all took off, left these guys behind to be tortured and murdered. Look at Afghanistan. All the people that cooperated with the United States in Afghanistan, did they get a free trip? No, of course they do that. But again, it's the Archons. Once we've used you up, we discard you like garbage. That's what they do. So the same thing, listen, the same thing with the Ukrainians. That'll happen to them. They'll be used up, provided they've lost enough young men in this ridiculous war, and they've killed enough civilians. And then what's the final thing? Well, go screw yourself and die. Well, we're done with it. And but you know what else? That will happen to all the trannies and all the LGBT gays and Black Lives Matter. Remember, they're all just tools for this archonic influence to destroy humanity. And once they're done using them, they're thrown into the same mass grave as everyone else.
Yeah. And last time I told you that Germany has said that we would have only ammunition for 2 days. Well, France now
Said the same
telegraphed
thing. I
that
know.
they have ammunition for 4 days. And so I was thinking, what, why is everybody depleting themselves? They throw everything into the Ukraine, and even the United States. It's not only that they are giving weapons from the surplus, only from the also from the substance. So let's say Taiwan and China, that is still on the table. Why would you do that? It doesn't really make sense to me.
I know it. None of it makes sense. It only makes sense when. But that's the whole world. It doesn't make sense. And rational people like you, me, Judith, and your listeners, look, it's not 100% of humanity that is completely insane. It's
No,
about
no.
90%. That still leaves 10% of us that are good, decent, rational, that can think for ourselves, that can rely on our own skills and our own assessment. We don't need to be told what to think by anybody else. We can think for ourselves. That's 10% of us. And so for those of us, the 10%, and let's call us the elite, because we are the elite of humanity, people that can actually reason for themselves. We are the elite, not the tribe, not the Archons, not all these other groups that think they're the elite. People that can think for themselves and are, despite all the horror and all the odds against us, we still do the right thing.
Mhm.
We are the
Yeah.
ones that are affected by this because it's just madness. And that's why I say I pull back from it. I don't do the deep dive into everything anymore. For me, the two most important things, because we're not going to win this, okay? We've talked about this before, Judith. They're going to kill themselves off. They always do. The
Mm.
hubris, the chutzpah is what kills them. Their own arrogance is what kills them in the end. So we don't have to do anything but survive. Become
Yeah.
a prepper, become a survivalist, look after yourself. And then the second thing is form small communities of like minded people, people that can reason for themselves, people that can think, people that can grow gardens, people that can fix motors. You know, we have to stick together, form our own little communities, and cooperate with other little communities, which I am proud to say we are doing here where I live. It's
Mhm.
amazing what we've been able to accomplish. I'm shocked and surprised how well it's going, and we're cooperating with other little communities. Let these bastards kill each other off,
Mm.
and let the vast majority of humanity follow them over the cliff. I can't help you. If you need help, ask me, and I will always help. Anybody who asks me for help, I will always help them. But if they don't ask, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to go out of my way to try and convince them they need my help. Fine.
Mm.
Because they're nothing. They're empty, hollow, soulless entities that are playing a NPC role here on this planet. And if they want to go and kill themselves, okay, go ahead. Sign up for the army. Enlist. Go kill yourself. I can't help you. But for those of us, we can survive this. We will survive this. And then all these people will be dead. You know, in one way, they're doing us a favor with this, dare I say, medical injection. Because all
Mhm.
the people that are getting the medical injection are idiots, obviously. I mean, I
Mhm.
saw this when they first came out with this. I went, "Oh, they really, really want us to take this medical injection." Uh, they're promoting it on every medium and advertisements, and all the politicians. Everybody wants me to get this medical injection. I knew right away that this was evil. Right? Like, really? Every psychopath in the world wants you to take the tea, wants you to take the medicine, and
Mm.
you think that's okay. Look, they're psychopaths. Why do you think they want you to take this? Because it's going to kill you. So
Mm.
I saw this from the very beginning. So all the dumb, mindless, empty, soulless people, they're taking this stuff. Great. Because they're all going to be dead in 5 years. And who does that leave? It leaves the purebloods. It leaves those people that didn't fall for the propaganda. It leaves those 10% of us that can think for ourselves. So they're doing us a favor. Thank you, Fauci. Thank you, Bill Gates. You've just rid us, decent, normal, healthy, intelligent people, of the burden of these 80% of total idiots. Thank you for getting rid of them for us. I know I'm
So,
mean now. I'm mean, Judith. I'm
yeah,
mean, mad,
I,
mean.
I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing us a
But
favor.
although we have to also to acknowledge that a the majority is still alive. I'm not saying there are no
Not for much
problems
longer.
and complications, but the majority is still alive.
Not for much longer.
Yeah, we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's coming up soon, Judith. You know,
Yeah.
like I know I tend to be very black pilled.
Mm.
Um, but again, I've read history. What did they do during the Irish famine? What did they do in Bosnia? What did they do in Venezuela? What did they do in Germany during World War II? Look at what they did to the German people. Oh my God! So you think that's not coming our way? The same thing's coming our way, okay? And so
Mm.
the same thing. All these sheeple, the the mass unwashed or whatever you want to call it, they're going to go. They're going to be slaughtered. So it's up to us, you, me, and the listeners and our fans, because I know my fans, my subscribers are the greatest people in the world. They really are. And they know exactly what's going on. And they're preparing, and they are prepared, and they're working together. We will survive. So once, all is said and done, once the dust has been blown away from civilization, we will be the ones that will create a new society, the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates, all these other guys, they're going to go the way of every tyrant and psychopath throughout history. They will all die too. They won't survive. Nobody survives this world, okay? Everybody goes. So they will eventually go too. And once they're gone, and once all their idiots are gone, and all the mass psychosis, psychotic humanity is gone, that will leave us, and it will be a new golden age. That's why I keep telling people, look, don't give up hope. Yeah, there's no hope of saving this stuff now. It's too late. Maybe we had a chance 200 years ago if there was enough people. But even then, that's the thing, is when you've got 80% of the population complete idiots, what can you do? You can't save them. You couldn't save them now. You can't save them 100 years ago. You couldn't save them 1,000 years ago. It's the same thing. But this will all pass. And those of us that have seen this coming and have prepared, we will survive. Our children and grandchildren will survive. And they will form the basis of a new golden age.
Hmm. So let's speculate a little bit. Let's say Russia wins this conflict.
They will.
Yeah, I think so too. But as we said, everything can change now in a heartbeat.
True.
So let's say Russia does win this war. Uh, will NATO even survive that?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I don't even think NATO exists now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think if that happens, then it is so obvious that this construct is obsolete.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, NATO, what? Germany's got 1 day's worth of ammunition. France has got 4 days worth of ammunition. But you know what? Stefan has got a month's worth of ammunition. So I'll survive NATO.
Hmm.
So, but who cares? That whole thing, same with the United Nations and all these, and before that, the League of Nations, all these constructs that they've tried and organized, and even the European Union, none of them are going to survive. None of them.
Yeah, the European Union is simply an outpost for the United States.
Yeah,
That's basically it.
but not
And
the United
again, I do
States.
not mean the regular people.
Exactly, exactly. We can't talk about the regular people. I always listen, when you listen to these news broadcasts, Germany today decided, and England decided, and America decided. No, it wasn't Germany or England, or nobody decided anything other than the archonic tribe that controls things. They've
Mm.
decided. So, um, yeah, the European Union, please. I mean, it was a bad idea from the start. When I first heard about this, because, I
Mm.
traveled extensively through Europe. I love Europe. Uh,
Yeah.
Judith, I was there a couple of times, backpacking. I went everywhere, met all the students, and I met people from all the countries, and we shared a beer and we shared chicken, and, you know, what a beautiful country it was back then in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It was paradise. It was beautiful. There was no crime. Everybody got along. There was no, you know, animosity between people. I would sit at a table and there'd be French and Danish and German and Dutch and Swedish, and we all got along together. We all were happy. And then when they said, "Oh, well, we're going to make this European Union," I thought that will be a disaster. That'll
Yeah.
to try and blend all these people. First of all, it wasn't necessary. Everybody got along. Oh, well, there was World War II. Yeah, but World War II was an instigated, orchestrated, false flag murder machine. That wasn't natural. That wasn't what the European people would normally or naturally do. It was in, imposed on them from without, from a group of very rich international bankers and other assorted villains.
Yeah. And you can say that I'm pretty sure that, you know, neither in the First World War and then the Second World War, I don't think that Americans were crazy about going to war, into that war. But, and okay, we know the story of that ship, the Lusitania,
Yeah,
and how that got sunk. And yeah, so they always find a way,
yeah,
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 to sell it to the public, why
yeah.
it has to happen now. I think that the Americans themselves, they would have said, this is not our war, let them do what they want. And yeah, let's concentrate on our country here.
Well, even that arc traitor Woodrow Wilson, when he was
Mm.
campaigning for re-election, he said, "I'm going to keep you out of the war in Europe."
Yeah,
Oh, that went well. That worked really
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
sure, and the
exactly.
same thing now. Listen, we're just one false flag event away from World War III. Yeah, it can change overnight. And but I think things are going so well with them so far. They've destroyed the world economy. They've destroyed the food supply chains. They've destroyed the monetary system. They've destroyed medical system. It's going well for them. They don't really need World War III. They're already killing lots of people right now, and they're all very happy about that. But still, it could go to World War III. I wouldn't doubt it if it does. But again, it doesn't matter, Judith. So long as you and me, we survive it. We have our family,
Mm.
we have our friends, we have people we can trust, and there are good people in the world. I I know it's hard to believe. Um, 5 years ago, you couldn't convince me that there were still good. Well, yeah, you could. I know some good people. I know good people. It's just that we're so few and far in between. We're the minority. We are the elite of humanity. Good, decent, thinking people. We're the elite. And there are enough of us, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. So long as we can find each other, work together, we'll be okay. And then let all these idiots, psychopaths, monsters, demons, let them kill each other off. Fine. I can't stop it. Even though I know the vast majority of people are mindless automatons, I still feel for them. I don't like to see them suffer. And they have
No,
children.
yeah.
There's a lot of
Mm.
children that are suffering. I don't think any child should suffer, not even the children of the the automatons.
Mm.
And so I do feel for them, but I'm just one old man here. What can I
Yeah,
do?
yeah, you know this publication, The Economist, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I know you do not have a subscription, but you heard of this publication.
Yes.
So, yeah, they gave us even a number. They said they analyzed it, energy crunch hitting Europe, and they had I guess the title, the cover was freezing off or something like that. Well, and they told us that in Europe alone, 350,000 people will die this winter,
Oh,
and
that's
not,
nice.
and not in the Ukraine.
Right. No,
Yeah.
no, in Germany and Europe, and
Mm.
yeah, they'll freeze
Hmm.
to, and England, they'll freeze to death in their beds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
So
that's the
they
psychopaths. Yeah.
yeah, they even gave us the numbers. And of course, it is, according to The Economist, it's all Putin's fault.
Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion.
Hmm.
Hundreds of thousands of people will starve and freeze to death, but that's okay because we have to support the Ukraine.
Yeah, I really wonder when the shit really hits the fan. I wonder what people are going to do then, because as of now, it's pretty. There are protests, yes, every week, every Monday, yeah, still
Yeah,
going on here in Germany. I'm talking about this country.
yeah.
But other than that, it's relatively calm and quiet here.
Uh-huh.
And I really wonder if, when the shit hits the fan, what's going to happen here.
Well, we know what's going to happen. People will
Wow.
panic. They'll lose
Mm.
their minds. Listen, assuming they had a mind to begin with, and again, 80% of the people don't have a mind. But that 80% will get even crazier. We already see it happening now, Uh, the unsparked, the sudden sparks of violence and road rage and suicides and crime. I mean, it's already gone up like crazy. That's just the beginning stages of people losing it. These are the outliers. These are the people that are being affected first by the economic downturn, and they're losing it, and they're turning to crime and violence. Now, when it affects the majority of people, they will do the same. They will lose it. That's why I have a gun.
Mm. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
I do not have a gun,
I know you don't. You're not allowed to. You're a slave.
but I have baseball rackets.
Baseball bats?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We'll start with that. Listen, guerrilla tactics is very simple. You take a baseball bat and you hit the police officer, and then you take his gun.
Yeah.
No, really, that's
Yeah, yeah,
guerrilla
yeah,
tactics. You want
yeah.
to arm yourself. You don't have a gun now. Give it a couple of days. You'll have a gun. All you have to
Mm.
do is get together, three other people, set up an ambush, phone the police. Oh, I've been attacked. And when they come there, you and three other people sneak up behind them with the baseball bats. Now you got their guns. And then you take their guns and you call in another incident. Oh, I got hit. I was attacked. When they show up, you've got guns. You shoot them. You take their guns. This is guerrilla tactics. This is the way it's always worked throughout history. You forage on your enemy, and if your enemy is the military and the police, you take their stuff. It's really simple. So I know it's easier if you already had a gun,
Hmm.
but when things get really bad, you can get them. Trust me, you'll be able to get them. But you got to be ruthless and cunning and forage off the enemy. And the enemy nowadays is your own law enforcement and military. I hate to say it because, I used to teach martial arts. I had lots of police officers in my class. I always got along really well with them. We were always good
Hmm.
buddies. We trained together. We were brother warriors. I would hate, I would really hate to have to hurt them. But
Mhm.
if it's life and death, and that's what it'll end up, life and death, then your ability to pay the mortgage does not supersede my ability to eat. And so you
Yeah.
have to go. You put yourself in that position. Now, if you became a cop and then you want to turn over to our side, welcome, brother. We'll help you. We'll look after you. We'll support each other. But if you can't see that the orders you are obeying, now remember the Nuremberg trials,
Hmm.
obeying orders is not a defense. So for
No.
me too, you obeying orders from Bill Gates and Charles Klaus Schwab is not a defense, then you are my enemy, and then you're going to be an enemy combatant.
Yeah, I think we have to start thinking like that.
Of course we do, because it's life and death now, Judith. Well, not now. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
actually,
I know.
it is now. It is now. It really is now. It is life and
Mm.
death now. Look at the people that are dying. And not just the people that are dying from the medical injection, people that are dying from the fentanyl, people that are dying from suicide and
Mm.
alcoholism and freezing to death underneath the overpass. Come on. We are taking massive casualties already. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are dying now. So, yeah, it is life and death. And if it gets worse and you need a gun, yeah, I'll tell you where to get the gun.
Mm. Yeah, you just told us.
Yes, I did. But that's classical guerrilla warfare. You read any book on warfare tactics or guerrilla tactics, that's always what happens. It's always what happens. Even going back to the Sinn Féin and the IRA, what did they do? They broke into military offices and stole their guns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, with imagine all the weapons the United States left behind in Afghanistan,
oh my God.
just like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
They armed the Muslims with the most up to date weapons, billions of dollars worth. Come on, you think that was an accident?
No,
No, of
no,
course
of
not.
course not.
No.
And yeah, and I also do not think, I mean, Europol talked about it already this summer, that a lot of these Ukraine weapons for Ukraine are popping up all over the place.
Of course, of course. It went into the hands
Also,
of the
that
bankers.
is not an accident. Yeah.
Yeah, no, all that stuff was, of course. Now, I would imagine less than 10% actually made it to Ukraine. The rest went on the black market and
Yeah.
were sold by the Archons.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the same thing with the, look at suddenly everybody's donating money to the Ukraine. 100 billion here, 100 million there. Every country in the world is sending tens of millions of dollars to the Ukraine. And then we found out just one example was that, what was it, FTS or something like that? That crypto.
FTX.
Yeah, FTX.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it all
Yeah, yeah.
came back. It was all laundered and came back into the Democrat Party coffers. And of course, how many people took a slice on the way there and on the way back? So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And these yeah mechanisms, that they are really hard to break, and that is why I totally agree with you. Our most noble task now is to survive this madness, and we can take it and pick it up from there.
absolutely. Remember, this will all end. One thing that
Mhm.
history teaches us, and not just history, but philosophy. Let's go
Mhm.
back to the Taoists and the Buddhists. Everything is change, right? Nothing
Yeah.
remains the same. Everything always changes. So, yeah, okay, the Archons and their evil minions, they control everything, and They have all the power in the world. Look, that will change. That that
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
last. Nothing lasts. Everything evolves through cycles and will change. But so long as you don't change, so long as you stay true to yourself and you have people that you love and trust, and I've been very fortunate. I have people here that I love, that I will die for,
Hmm.
because they're that good. They're just decent, honest people. And I will kill for them and I will die for them. So long as we have that connection and we can survive it, again, like I said, everything changes. The next stage is a golden age after the corruption, after the evil, after the chaos. And this has been going on for tens of thousands of years. It's not my opinion, it's everybody's opinion that has studied history. Things change, they evolve, they go around in cycles. We're in a downturn now. Yeah. We're in
Kali
the
Yuga.
the Kali Yuga. I was just going to say the Kali Yuga. You just read my mind.
Yeah. It's yeah, what the Chinese always say when they curse you, may you be born in interesting times.
Yeah, yeah. There's a.
Mm.
We're almost out of time, right?
Yeah, and you know what? We managed to end on a positive note again, and that is where I would like to leave it now.
Let's leave it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, things will be positive. Look, we will go through a lot of suffering, but not. And a lot of people are going to suffer terribly. But listen, I still try to do what I can. I help
Mhm.
whoever needs me, whoever asks for my help. I help them. I don't expect anything in return, and that's the way us elite really behave. We are good people. We help each other. We support each other. And so long as we can survive, we are the ones that will build the golden age. All these evil people will be gone. Well, most of them, anyways.
Mhm.
And we're looking forward to happy times. That's just the way the world works. That's the way the universe works. Up and down, in and out, left and right, through the cycles of history, on we go. It just keeps going. And life is suffering. That's the first principle of Buddhism. Life is suffering. So if you're having a hard time right now, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it always was. That's the way it always will be. We suffer, but then we overcome and we rebuild and we get better, and then the suffering will be placated by times of joy and happiness and peace. And that's where we're
Mhm.
headed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. And so that was it, Night Flight for today. And we see you all next time. Bye bye.
Recording stopped.